Hi, my name's Neal Ghoshal. I'm here to talk about yoga. My fascination started with a few years back, about 14 years ago, when I still remember my first yoga class, fresh out of being in an office, a lunchtime class, and I remember how I felt straight after that class. I felt so good and energized, and it caught me ever since. And I've always noticed how yoga always seems to makes me come out in a better space. Gradually, yoga's caught me more and more over the years, and it's sort of this beautiful endless journey and a fascination with this practice. It's very practical for me. I feel when I practice every day, it just supports me in my life. The history and the philosophy of yoga, I'm half Indian. I sort of really relate to that side of the yoga tradition, that it comes from India. And these days I'm really influenced by my teacher and colleague Donna Fahy, who teaches us how to move. So I'm really fascinated by movement and how we move and how we can move as naturally as possible, really. One of the things I really love about the Eastern traditions and yoga is that it is a recognition of that we are naturally whole. We don't have to make ourselves to be better people. It's more a sense that we're coming home to who we really are. And I love that recognition of that. And in terms of movement, what I'm really interested in yoga asana is how we can move as naturally as possible. So the yoga I teach and I'm really influenced by is looking at the natural ways that we may begin to move, how a movement starts, how a movement transitions through, how a movement finishes, how can that all be supported by the breath. And it's a beautiful journey of discovery and also this recovery. I love the sense of recovering our natural wholeness. One of the things that is also really clear for me about the yoga tradition is this sort of a refinement towards a more still place, a more quiet space. And when I'm quiet and when I'm tuned into the underlying stillness and quietness that surrounds us all, I tend to come from a better place within myself. There's a beautiful quote which I often like to quote in my classes, that when the mind is silent, the heart speaks, and the language of the heart is love and kindness and compassion. And that's sort of been my experience, that when I ever come out of a yoga class in a quieter space, I am more in touch with that part of me that is more heart-centered. And it also means that when I go through my life, so yoga is not just for my yoga practice or my yoga mat, I'm really fascinated by how it can spill out into my life. And I'm looking at how I respond to what happens in my life. So when I'm in that quiet space from a yoga practice, I find that my responses to whatever happens in my life is clearer and more intelligent and more heart-centered. The last 5 years in particular, I've been fully fascinated by the practice of kindness. Kindness as a spiritual practice, and seeing the power of that kindness isn't just a nice thing, that includes everything from being really safe in a yoga class, being really nourished by a yoga class, by generosity, by warmth, and how that could translate into every relationship, every response that I give. So that's really colouring my yoga classes at the moment and my yoga practice, and seeing how that really spills out into every aspect of my life. And it's been a rich and rewarding aspect and part of my life here. So that's me just for now, just talking about my journey with yoga in a nutshell, in just a few words. A lot more to say, but save that for another time. Thank you. Namaste.